Hey everybody, welcome to Dogs Red Wine. We're in Perrysburg, Ohio. It's a little chilly outside. Tonight we're going to talk about a wonderful Cabernet that I think you all should probably pick up and enjoy yourselves. We're also going to talk about Doge and what Elon Musk has been up to, ripping up DC, and a little bit about a study that we find historically interesting about brown and blue eyes. Jason, introduce yourself.
I'm Jason, co-producer of Dogs Red Wine. Oh, Bart, he's excited tonight.
He's not just co-producer, he does all the video work. Thank goodness.
and tonight it's a special time because I picked out the bottle of wine tonight.
Yeah, well, I wanted it to be mine. Don't knock over the microphone, Bart. I wanted it to be my night because I've got a great wine in store for you next.
Nice.
Not just a great wine, but interesting.
Okay.
It's got how it's made, why it's made is very interesting.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm excited about that.
So we've had quite the week in politics, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, just jumping right into politics to annoy or rally people, but I mean, the government expenses are getting turned upside down a little bit.
You know, you really hadn't heard much about Doge last time we were hanging out last week, but you could not have heard about Doge in the last week. And one that caught me was, I think they sent like $20,000 or $40,000 to Morocco to teach pottery. So I looked up, because I was thinking, I bet you they've been making pottery for a while in Morocco. You know, I mean, I've seen it, like them digging stuff up and stuff. And they've been making pottery in Morocco for 12,000 years. But they needed lessons, apparently, from the U.S. government. I think what was amazing is their reaction.
Oh, I know.
To getting caught.
Right. And,
like, how dare you catch us?
Right. And like the Department of Education, I mean, the thousands of waste that employees that.
Well, I think you can pretty much consider everything they spend money a waste.
Yeah.
So the Department of Education was started by Jimmy Carter. And that was like the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And I believe we were like close to number 1 in the world for education.
Yeah.
We're now number 40.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our math skills, our science knowledge, everything is weak. My daughter is an 8th grade science teacher in South Carolina, and it's tough to get the kids to want to learn that, and you know what I mean, and they started something cool down in South Carolina. They started going year-round school.
They do that in Vegas only because they had so many people move to Las Vegas. The only way they could put all the kids in school was to open up in the summers.
Okay, yeah.
So the kids hate it because they don't have summer vacation.
Yeah.
Now, Las Vegas has lots of air conditioning, so that's not too bad.
Right.
You know, but recesses probably suck.
Yeah.
It's 120 degrees out. You don't really feel like recess.
She likes it because her district, they went 2 week. They get a 2 week spring break, a 2 week fall break, a 2 week winter break.
Yeah, if that coincides with the parents' ability to take time off and do trips, I can see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Gives them a little bit more flexibility.
I was curious. I actually asked Grok, so what happens in Perrysburg, Ohio, if they close the Board of Education? And if they did that, the one thing that would also end is mandates, the federal mandates that they put out. Well, the last administration, if you didn't have a rainbow flag up and other things that are similar to that subject, they wouldn't give you the money.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So a lot of times the mandates push an agenda.
Sure.
And it isn't like you got to raise the math skills, or
right.
you got to raise, or they got to be able to read, English.
Right.
I don't think it would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you gave it back to the states.
Right.
And even better if the states were like we're going to let the town of Perrysburg or wherever manage their own thing, because most of the parents around here are mad as hell.
It probably works well in a place like Perrysburg, where there's enough funding to make sure the curriculum is fulfilled and followed and stuff. I think it might be harder if you were in urban Toledo or urban Cincinnati.
Well, if you were to look at any of those schools, let's take East Toledo, which is not the best part of town. I'm sure the property taxes are pretty low in East Toledo, and they do some moving around with the money to try to even that out. It's not the same,
Right.
but it's better. But if you took what they're paying per student in East Toledo, I'm sure it's way more than the rest of the world.
Oh, the world, but yeah, I don't
Right?
think, yeah.
And the rest of the world apparently is getting a better education. At least. So it's not necessarily money
Right.
that makes for a good education.
Right.
And a lot of the private schools, they do with way less.
Right. That's true. That's
and
true.
Get way better results. And when I say better results, what colleges do the kids get into?
Sure.
That was the criteria that we used when we talked about our high school.
Right.
When I was a kid.
Right.
Who went where?
Right. Well, we're blessed to have good public education where we're at. Some of the best in the state.
Yeah, I think we're in the top 5%.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is better than being the lowest 5%.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I feel sorry for those kids.
Right.
I'm assuming our kids know how to read and write and do math. I hope they do.
So.
But if they don't, I guess they'll have AI down the road doing it for them, right?
Right, or AI will probably do their job also. So.
I mean, I often wonder how the education system might change in 4 or 5 years. Maybe kids don't need to go to school in 4 or 5 years.
Well, I think that the big push in education needs to be working with and mastering AI. Otherwise, you're going to be its servant. So you either are going to learn to work along with
use it or you don't. I use Grok on X.com now 10, 20 times a day.
Yeah.
And I ask a question I'm just curious about because it lays it out more than like if you do a Google search. A Google search is just, although the Google search is starting to do AI as well. I don't know if you noticed.
I saw that,
the
generative, yeah.
Yeah. So that's good, but I like how Grok answers it, and there's definitely a leftist bent still in Grok.
Okay.
And that's probably from the Twitter days. Sure. And also, a lot of AI, when you ask it questions, it's going out on the internet and reading articles.
Right.
Well, who's been writing all the articles thanks to USAID, right? I mean, they apparently had thousands of newspapers and radio and all that, all over the world they were paying.
Yeah. I love ChatGPT. I don't have a lot of familiar with Grok, but ChatGPT is.
You better
really
pour this. I need.
I know.
I've been waiting for you all afternoon.
Right. So here we go.
I don't drink very much anymore. This is like my only time to drink.
All right. Well, here we go. We're gonna.
It's red.
Start off with red at least.
Oh, that looks good. It's dark.
I think you're gonna like this one.
Wow, that's got quite the bouquet, huh?
Right. Mm.
Smooth. It's a little old. It's not super young. I want to say it's not American, is it? Oh, it is.
So it is. Actually, it's another California. It's another.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's another California.
I think I might have had this. It tastes familiar.
So, well, where do you want to start? We know it's California.
California, you let me.
What type
give
of
me
grape?
a freebie on that. I'm going to go 8 years old.
So it has that bouquet, and but it's actually young. I'm not sure which one this one is, but I think this is a 2021.
Oh, that's really young.
Yeah.
That's 4 years old. I love drinking a wine that's like 4 years old and you go, oh, that's really good. Because then you buy a couple and put them away.
Yeah.
Just ignore it for 10 years,
So a 4-year-old California.
It tastes sort of cabby.
Yeah.
It is Cabernet?
Yeah,
okay.
It is
It looks like a cab. I'm thinking of steak and lobster. I don't know why. Is this steak and lobster?
This would be
cab?
Kind of like bread and butter.
Yeah.
But
so is it a well-known name?
I think so. You'll find it everywhere.
Okay.
So
California. So if it tastes as good and it's only 3 or 4 years old, it's probably more on the expensive side, I'm guessing. It's not cheap.
What would you call expensive for a Cabernet?
For cab?
For this cab.
Yeah,
for this cab.
$30?
So you can usually find it for right under 20. I've seen
Really?
it. I've seen it for 26, but usually you can find it for
It's too good to be Kendall Jackson.
I agree. I know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
The Kendall Jackson Reserve is notably better.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, it's better than Kendall Jackson.
Okay, give me the first letter.
The label starts with an F.
It's not Feynman's or Finderman or... I give up.
So we got a young Cabernet from Lodi, California.
Lodi.
Okay, Lodi, California.
Yeah.
This one, you want me to open it right now?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at this. So this one is kind of fun. Even the label is fun.
Oh, really?
It's got some nice blueberry notes to it. Some really jammy. It's really jammy.
Well, you pick up those subtle flavors. I got to admit, I don't. Oh, I have seen that bottle.
Yeah.
And it's so wild, I'd never have bought it.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. It's actually pretty good.
Right. So Freak Show Cabernet.
Freak Show Cabernet,
Right? And it's got a really fun label.
Freak Show on the label.
Right? It's got a fun label.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there's a story behind that label, huh?
Well, it's from Michael David Winery. Are you familiar? They actually live on the vineyard, or right across the street from the vineyard, and so they're active in it, which I think always helps whether you're owner operator of a restaurant or you're, the farmer of the vineyard. But 2021 Cabernet, and it's got some great blueberry fig. It's got everything that you would think would make it too sweet, but it's not too sweet.
It's not sweet at all, in my opinion.
Yeah. I really
it's
like
nicely balanced. It's and for the age, it's a great wine. It can only get better.
Right. So that's a nice one. I like that one. So.
And a super fun label.
Yeah. Picked it up at Kazmeyer's for
we need to get Kazmeyer's as a sponsor, don't we?
Yeah.
That way we're not choosing any particular wine.
Right.
He's got a good selection of wine over there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I noticed I walked by. I got this one from the mid-level, but they have that nice top row of wines there.
Yeah, they do. We've had one.
Okay.
The Cape Red was from up there.
Yeah.
The $100 buddies that are all hanging out at the top there.
Right.
I think I've had most of them. I think he has Farniente there and Silver Oak. Have you ever had Silver Oak?
No.
I was at a estate sale and they had it for like $10. They were selling it, and I'm like, well, I don't care if it's vinegar.
Yeah.
It's expensive vinegar or a cheap bottle of wine, right?
Yeah.
And it was great. We drank it, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. That could be a big risk, right? For an estate sale, you don't know how long it's been.
Well, you don't know if they stored it. You don't know anything. Yeah. And until you actually get the top off, you don't even know if the cork's any good.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, you should store wine on the side because it keeps the cork damp, which keeps it nice and fat and stops air from going in.
And is it important to rotate them also?
They do that with champagne a lot.
Okay.
I think they call it racking.
Okay.
And some places have a machine that does them all at one time. But I don't think so with wines like this.
Okay.
I don't think that's necessary.
I think I got that from, I toured the Corbel over in Northern California.
Yeah, that's a great, it's a winery.
Yeah.
And they got a nice, beautiful kitchen. Have you been in the kitchen?
No, never.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. It's like a chef's dream kitchen.
What's been the best kitchen that you've ever been in as a private residence or just at a...
Well, they're obviously very different. I worked for a billionaire in Las Vegas, and he got divorced. His wife kicked him out of the house for some shenanigans, and there was a house a block down the street for sale. And he walked in, and he didn't even look at the house. That story might be familiar to you. He looked around, and he goes, "I'll take it. Plus, I'll give you an extra $50,000 if you're out by the Saturday." Then he went, we're out of here. And it had a terrible kitchen. It was all electric. And Bob said, "Do whatever you want." So I'm going to say that kitchen I built for Bob in his house with unlimited funds was the nicest house kitchen I've ever been in.
What were some of the features? What kind of ranges? What kind of equipment did you use?
I put mostly Viking in, and Viking was pretty new at the time. And I like Viking. I mean, as it looks great, but it's not the most reliable. It wasn't in the old days, and I've heard a lot of people complain about their ovens and stuff. They used to partner with Sub-Zero.
Oh, yeah.
So if a Viking salesman went in, they would sell Sub-Zero fridge.
Sure.
And then they started making their own fridges and pissed off Sub-Zero. So Sub-Zero went to Wolf.
Oh, that's
now Wolf was only commercial. And they came up to them and they go, "Hey, could we license your name for residential?" So they became competitors with each other, Wolf and Viking.
Yeah.
And Viking's actually a pretty new brand. It's only been around, we'll pop it up, but I think it's like 25, 30 years.
Okay.
It's not, a lot of people are like, "Oh, my grandmother used to cook on a Viking." No, she didn't. Unless she just bought one. She did not. You did not see your grandmother cooking on a Viking stove when you were a kid.
Z-Line, you ever heard of Z-Line?
No, I haven't.
They look cool, but I don't know much about them. My experience is more Common Man, Maytag, Whirlpool.
When I was a kid, they didn't really have high-end kitchen stuff.
Right.
There was very little emphasis on having a gourmet kitchen.
Right.
There was not a lot of emphasis on cooking, as a matter of fact.
Right, or what you cooked.
Right. When I was a kid, there was Yan Can Cook. He was a Chinese chef in San Francisco who I met so many times. He was always at events. He was the nicest guy, and he's hilarious. If you watch any Yan Can Cook videos from PBS, they're hilarious. If you like Chinese food, watch Yan Can Cook. And he is one of those guys that just has a great time cooking. There was Galloping Gourmet. I don't know.
No, never heard.
Apparently, he was drunk the whole time. And Julia Childs.
So
that was pretty much it. There were no cooking shows. There was no food TV or anything like that.
Right. Julia Childs, though, I remember when I was young, and she would be on PBS, and my mom would be following along with one of her recipes.
Yeah. My parents talked about her so often, I thought she had to be a relative. I really did.
Right? Because she was like an entire generation before Martha Stewart.
Oh, totally, yeah. She could be Martha's grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew at least mom.
She also, I think, I think she worked for the CIA.
I was going to mention that. So I'm not sure what her biggest role is in that. I mean, I think what happened is they have a great spy museum in Washington, D.C. And it has a whole Julia Childs section.
Really?
And I think she was more of, okay, we're going to have our operatives be part of the production team. You're going to be in there. I don't think she was like cooking and then like putting her James Bond stuff on and climbing up the building out of her, you know.
She didn't look like that kind of spy.
Right.
Yeah.
But
sometimes the obvious works great in spying.
Right.
Because no one would ever think of her as a spy.
Right. And I mean, certainly, casual conversation, if you were like cooking a big meal for dignitaries and I heard a rumor of, and see, sometimes a snippet.
You know that, I don't know if you heard about this, I think it was a year or two ago, that Obama's chef died. He drowned in like 3 feet of water right by their house.
Huh.
And my response was, the chef knows everything.
And
it's true because
sure.
If you're a personal chef, I was a personal chef for like Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
I heard and knew everything.
Yeah.
And you can't not because the housekeepers talk to you. You're serving them food. You hear a conversation at the dinner table. Yeah. So if you are a personal chef or a maid like that for someone famous or whatever, you're going to hear probably more than you want to.
Right.
I mean, there are things I know. I'll keep them to myself because, there's no reason to.
No, certainly not with somebody who's with a name. I don't have a name with it, but are you familiar with NetJets? It's a Berkshire Hathaway company. They have a great business model where generally people that owned previous to NetJets that owned a business jet wouldn't use it full time. And they're an expensive piece of equipment.
Oh, they rent them out or...
So you actually buy a quarter share. So you own a share of the... And you can even go less than quarter shares now. But at the time, you could buy a quarter share. And so you have all the benefits of the tax write-off of the corporate jet and all that. And you
got to pay the maintenance, though, don't you?
And you still have to pay the maintenance.
That's probably the worst part, isn't it?
Right.
Then you guys, the pilots.
Yeah, but listening to some of those pilots tell stories, because they would fly celebrities and congressmen and stuff like that. And,
I'm sure they have some stories.
Yeah. But some nasty stories, too.
I don't know if you'll appreciate this story. So Bob had a Lear 35.
Sure.
And there was going to be a fishing trip. He was supposed to go on it, but he canceled last minute, which he always did. But a bunch of his employees and friends were going down on the jet to the boat. And I made Scotch eggs. Do you know what Scotch eggs are?
Yeah.
Well, Scotch egg is a hard-boiled egg wrapped in sausage and breadcrumbs, and you fry it. They're delicious. I make them all the time. They're just fantastic.
Do you soft boil them first, or?
Yeah, I do, because you can't wrap the sausage around the raw egg.
Yeah.
And apparently, and I cut them in, and I put them in like a Tupperware container. Apparently, it smelled like farts all the way down and all I got was an earful about how bad the Scotch egg. Would you go away, you two?
Here, I'll put him down.
Yeah.
It's okay. Here, Frankie's going down.
Yeah.
You can sit here, Bart.
Bart,
it's fine.
go knit a sweater, Bart.
Fine.
Yeah.
Dogs, red wine. We got plenty of dogs
and red wine. Thanks for living up to our name. Now go away.
Well, you want to dig into the hat again from last week?
Why don't you go first?
All right. Let's see what we got.
Let's see what leftover questions we have.
I have to put my glasses on.
Yeah, I know.
I'm at that.
Lord. We can get some Braille ones for the next show.
So it was funny. My girlfriend watches some of that trash TV of 90 Day Fiance and other stuff like that, But
my mom would watch that.
I think one of them was called MILF Manor. But the funniest thing about this is these mature women were like this, and they would put something in front of them, and they would all pull out their. There we go.
Because they can see. Yeah.
So I can, just like on MILF Manor, Dog's Red Wine, we pull this out. Oh, our daughter should be here for this one.
Why was it? What is
Puerto Rico.
Huh?
Puerto Rico.
Didn't we talk about Puerto Rico?
We did. I thought we talked about.
I think we just talked about it. Probably.
And you know what? It could have been. We did names in the hat. We could have both did.
Oh,
Puerto
that's
Rico.
true.
So
we have it in our mind.
So we won't. We don't. We did Puerto Rico last time.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a fun time.
I'll draw again. So.
I was thinking when we go is book the rainforest.
Yeah.
And have everybody record.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
And have like 5 or 6
And
lines.
if you have your new meta glasses, you can capture some pretty cool point of view stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know what kind of animals they have down in Puerto Rico, but
as far as like dangerous animals or just
there's no elephants and zebras and stuff like that.
No.
Well, not that those hang out in rainforests, but I think monkeys do, don't they? Monkeys like rainforests.
Yeah, there's probably going to be monkeys there.
Yeah, I like monkeys.
They'll steal your sunglasses.
Yeah, they will. Without my expensive new meta.
Yeah, exactly.
I can just see a monkey wearing my meta glasses. Hello, the monkey.
So this one was the favorite travel place that you've ever been and the favorite travel place that you would want to go that's on a bucket list.
I love Jamaica.
Nice.
Love it. And the reason I love it is when you go to Jamaica, the Jamaicans are so relaxed and so slow that if you don't join them, you get frustrated.
Sure.
But once you join them, you relax too.
Yeah.
And I came back the first time, and I literally, it was weeks of going, yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I also learned that if you like to drink, order 2 drinks.
because
it's going to take so long for the second drink to get there. Well, it took them forever to get the first drink, right?
Yeah.
So you just go, lots of ice, please. You know?
Yeah. I've never been to Jamaica, so
I love Jamaica. I definitely go back to Jamaica.
Okay.
I've always wanted to go to Thailand.
Okay.
And mostly for the food.
Oh, I can imagine. Like
Every chef
Thai.
I know who's gone there has said the food is just incredible.
I can only imagine because I can go to a little strip mall here and order the pad Thai, and I'm pretty happy. You know.
We have one good Thai restaurant around here.
Oh, what's the name? What's the name?
Bangkok Kitchen.
Oh, over off
In
of
Mami.
Exit 6. Yeah, it's just little. It's just like probably has 10 tables in it.
Well, but they've stopped serving after COVID.
Oh.
They stopped serving and they only do takeout.
Oh, okay. So
which is probably because of the money. They probably saved a lot of money. It's all family that works there.
Right.
So they probably went, well, why? We don't have to wait on tables and clean up. And
that probably makes a lot of sense for that particular business
they
model.
delivered to Perrysburg. Probably.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
Takeout and delivery because they're I loved their food. I've eaten there. I have not eaten there since I moved back post-COVID. But
the thing that's funny about Thai food is all the words they use, they sound like you're swearing at someone.
maybe they are. Maybe.
Well, they could be, but they like some of the words are FUK.
Oh yeah,
you know.
That's fun, yeah.
Yeah. I had a Thai guy do my hair when I was up in Seattle, and his name was, I think, Long Duck Dong. You know, and when I first really, is that really your name? He's oh yeah. I think he was Thai. He maybe was.
I think that was from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah,
right?
Long Duck Dong.
Yeah, Long Duck Dong. So, well, fine.
It was named after a hairstylist. How about you?
My most adventurous and probably most memorable trip is I went to Bali for not just a little vacation, but I actually did house sitting for a couple Shih Tzu dogs. The owners had several houses.
In Bali.
I was on the beach in Bali for 6 weeks.
dog sat in Bali.
Dog sat in Bali.
That's just absurd.
Right? Two little dogs in Bali. Oh,
and they paid you, let me guess.
They didn't pay us, but we had 6 weeks of beachfront living with 2 scooters and a housekeeper. So we were, and their justification is they said, like, the housekeeper was great. Like, a family woman, and her husband did the gardening, and they said that they were such good employees, they would never want to not give them, like, full-time employment, you know. So they were so valuable to them, they didn't want to have to go, you know, leave for 6 weeks and come back and have to spend 2 weeks finding, you know, somebody
similar.
Yeah. So
Bart, lie down.
But in Bali, I also went to.
Lie down.
So we traveled all around Bali, which was amazing, and the people of Bali actually is what really made it amazing. They were such warm, truly genuine, warm-hearted people that. One of them explained to me that they feel that their actions in this lifetime go 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. So
that's some interesting karma.
Yeah, so they're very conscious as a culture to be kind.
Are they Hindu?
Let's see.
Muslim?
They're Hindu. Lombok, right beside them, is Muslim.
Okay.
Notably different.
Yeah, I bet.
We did stay in Lombok.
The Hindus are generally very peaceful people.
Yeah, and they were very peaceful, and beautiful countryside.
Now, everybody I know, and that is actually on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Probably second. And I heard about Bali when I was a kid, and everybody said go there before the tourists screw it up. So how long ago did you go?
This was 2018.
Oh, not too long ago.
So yeah. So
and did you find it too commercialized, or I heard you could get a lobster dinner for $10. That's what really.
Well, you could get a hour-long full body Bali massage for $7. So we would usually.
I'd have like 4 massages a day, eat, and then have 5 more.
Right? We would try and get a massage almost every day. If we, you know what I mean?
That would be pure heaven to me.
Right? So, and we were gracious, but if they were only charging $7 for a massage, we would usually tip them like $7 for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like 100%, but it was like, seemed weird or almost like, I don't know. But that's what we would do. So, I mean.
You felt bad that you were paying so little.
Yeah. And just riding around with scooters and stuff was fun. Rode on the wrong street, and it's still very third world. So whether the tourism really only hit like certain areas of the resort in Bali. They
need that money,
and they need that money, right?
I saw some videos on YouTube during and after COVID, and some of these places, some of these third world places that were very touristy are dead.
Yeah.
Just empty.
Right.
And the problem they're so dead is the people who used to support the tourism have left.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be a while for those places probably to come back because they don't even have the labor. It's okay.
So
we need doggy volume, obviously.
That's fine.
Franklin, no, gosh.
Bart's gonna be up
there
too.
Yeah, if Bart sits on your lap, it's all over.
Okay, guys. Okay. Got a little intermission here. Okay, here we are. I know it's exciting.
Okay, you two, come on.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think it's fine.
Sit down.
Yeah.
No. You relax. No. Lie down. Go lie down.
So I think the place that would most be on my bucket list is and I'd have to look at the details even, but you fly into Peru and you can take a 5-star train up to Machu Picchu. And you go up to Machu Picchu and there's one hotel, only one, and it only has like 12 rooms. And you can spend the night at, I think it's called the Hotel of Machu Picchu or something like that. But you wake up and
Stop.
normally you don't have access to that area until afternoon unless you stayed
Staying there, you
hotel.
can go a little early.
And so I heard from somebody that's been there is one of the most amazing experiences they had in their life was they got up early and got their tea and went out and watched the sunrise and the steam lift off the mountains over Peru and Machu
Yeah,
Picchu.
I think Machu Picchu is pretty high up.
Yeah, it is.
So
yeah.
I know some people have gone there and they said that you get height.
You could get altitude sickness, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you know what you do for it?
Take those little cans of oxygen? Or
No, you suck on cocaine leaves.
Oh, really?
And my dad had a mine down there, and he was saying even the taxi cab drivers to if they have to work late or they're tired, they just suck on a couple of cocaine leaves.
Huh. Did it stimulate
Coca
it?
leaves.
Yeah, did it stimulate them? Like
He brought some back. Yeah, they work pretty good. I wouldn't turn them down. I mean, it's not the same as cocaine.
Right. I've never done it, but
You'd probably have to have. I don't know how many leaves to make a little bit of cocaine. I'm sure it's a lot.
There's probably a different processing too. You see all the processing.
Right.
You can't just. I'm sure you don't just grind it.
Yeah, there's chemicals, some pretty bad chemicals involved.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not the drug experts. So.
No.
We're the wine experts.
he was mining gold. He wasn't.
Yeah.
In a place called Urubamba. Sorry, Urubamba River. It's where the Incas got their gold, and it comes down every year with the storm. And it's plaster, so it's on the river where they get gold. Eggs. Yeah.
Huevos rancheros.
Okay. Well, eggs have been in the news a lot. Because of bird flu, but it is not the bird flu that's killing all these chickens. It's the government saying, cull all these chickens so they don't get bird flu.
Right. So I got you. So I know exactly. Because ultimately we see it with the price of eggs when we go to the grocery stores. That was the complaint kind of, right? But I had a farmer I knew when I lived in North Dakota, and he raised exclusively British white cattle. And he would actually go over to London and get the straws of semen and everything to have this pure British white cattle. And there wasn't even there wasn't even like mad cow and stuff on his farm. Like his cattle group did not contain it, but like a neighboring farm or something that put his cattle at risk. And the USDA came in and they said, well, you have to slaughter all your cattle. And he's like, these aren't cattle that are selling for $750 these are $100,000 cattle. And he's like I can't just they bankrupt him. He was a farmer no more after that.
Well, I don't know how true this is, but I have read like in the last day that there was one woman in one government bureau who pretty much made this happen. Like the part of this whole thing was is treating the virus through the chickens, and sort of like what happened with COVID is it gave people COVID. It sounds like they gave all the chickens the virus, the bird flu virus, by trying to protect them. That's what I'm sort of getting.
I'm not sure, but I barely experienced any of COVID. And I'll tell you the story. What did you actually get COVID for once?
I did, and I'm pretty sure it got my mom.
Okay.
But Mom died before like COVID hit the fan publicly.
Sure.
And I took her to ProMedica, and they put her in this new wing, and I went through like double door, and it was all the way at the end of the hall, and they were taking blood samples from her hourly.
Oh, wow.
And they wouldn't let her leave, and I saw a nurse once over 3 weeks. And they kept saying, "Oh yeah, she can be released," and they said to me, "The nursing home won't take her." And they knew me by my voice over the nursing home because my mom had been there so many times.
Right.
So I called, and they're like, "Oh no, your mom can come anytime." And I'm like, "Well," and I think they had a virus, and they didn't know because her symptoms were weird.
Right.
They were weird. Right. She hated hearing things like music or TV. She couldn't hear, didn't want to read anymore, didn't want to eat anymore.
After COVID or
while she had COVID. And those were like her 3 favorite things at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Eating, watching TV, and reading.
Right.
Right. Not a lot going on when you're 86. You know?
Right, right. Right.
And, but she was like, she pretty much said, "I'm done." You know, and I got it, I think, right after she did.
Okay.
And when I got it, no one knew what it was. I just know I felt like hell.
Was this like into 2019, like after Thanksgiving 2019?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, right into, she died in February 2020.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that COVID hit the fan around
March,
April, yeah. They were sort of like something going on.
Right.
Maybe right after she died, but no one knew of the word COVID for sure.
Right, for sure. No. My sister.
There were no lockdowns. No one was worried about it at all.
My sister got really sick around. It was either before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving. It was like near that Thanksgiving time frame, 2019, where now when the doctors look back, they didn't have a test for it, but they said it had to be COVID, and she has like long COVID? Long COVID, yeah. So still has symptoms.
Now, was she vaccinated? Because I heard that the people that have long COVID were vaccinated.
At the time, there was no, I mean, this was 2 years
before. She wasn't vaccinated at all?
Yeah, it was 2 years before the vaccine ever came out.
Did she ever get vaccinated?
I'd have to ask her. I'm
yeah.
not sure. I would think yes. She worked for the federal government, and I think a lot of the
required.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they required it, then told them to stay home.
yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest problems right now is getting all the people who work in D.C. to go back to work.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how weird to be upset that you're like, yeah, I know I've been getting a paycheck, but now you want me to actually go to work? And, you know, that's the problem with giving someone a check and a check and a check and not having to do anything about it. They get to the point where they expect it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I remember I work when I lived in Miami. I had we needed a FAA inspector to come out for the flight school, and our person that we needed was based out of Dallas, or at least he lived in Dallas. He might have been based out of Miami, but he lived in Dallas, and that's where he was living. And we built a new flight training center with new.
So one of the big thing that looks like it's out of Star Wars.
Right. The big looks like a at walker. Or whatever. Yeah. It's about the size of a living room.
What'd you say? They're like $5 or $6 million.
No, they're like 10 to 13 million. Yeah. No, I mean they're.
That is the most expensive video game you can play.
Right. It's we can go play it sometime.
I would love to go do that.
Yeah, I brought.
I'll crash the plane, I'm sure, but
yeah, it's
you can like because you said you can control all things that happen.
Oh, you control the weather. Oh yeah, control the weather.
Take out all my engines.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But the point I'm trying to make is, we needed this FAA inspector to come inspect the new training center, and he's like, well, I'll never get on a plane again. I'm like, that's fine if you have health concerns, but isn't your job title Federal Aviation Administration? And the flying public, people are flying, and you're saying you're not going to fly? I think he
refused to put a mask on.
I think it was just using it as an excuse to not
go to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'd love to work. I don't know about you, but I like retirement. I would never retire.
Yeah.
No interest in. I don't even know what that really would mean to me. Like, what am I supposed to do? Go play golf or something?
Yeah. I don't have.
I mean, if I like golf, I'd be playing it now.
Yeah. I try really hard to find enjoyment in my work and satisfaction in my work, and the fact, like, I guess I'm grateful that I'm not like assembling a part for 20 years and then.
Well, those people, I can understand that. I mean, if you had a factory job or a job you probably didn't like,
right?
Retirement is probably the most beautiful thing down the road, and I can understand that free time and everything. But I love what I do. I love what I might do,
right?
Because I'm only gonna go down that road, right?
Exactly.
And I think you can do everything. Well, I can do everything I want to do. I can go fishing if I want to.
Right.
I'd play golf if I was any good. I suck at golf, and I learned that at a young age. I don't know. Is there a hobby you would like pick up if you had? Let's say that your uncle died and left you $20 million. Yeah. So now money's no option. Is there something you would do?
I think if I had $20 million, I would probably take at least half of it and try and create something. Create something like, whether it's a business or it's a foundation or something that I can have an active, passionate role in. It could be art. It could be art for. I mean, I know.
Well, I have a lot of art I can sell you.
Well, it wouldn't be buying art, but it would be more like, I mean, community art projects and community projects. That would be fun. I mean, I think when your hobby and your passion and your job all align, I think that's a beautiful thing.
I'm 100% with you. A lot of people ask me what I do for a living, or I guess they're asking what you do for money, right? When someone says, "What do you do for a living?" And one of the things is I buy art, right?
Yeah.
And they ask me what I do for a living. I go, I ship art. And they're like, "You do that for a living?" Yeah, the art part I love. I love finding it. I love picking it up. I love cleaning the glass. I love hanging it on the wall, all that.
Yeah.
It's the shipping part I can't stand because it's always glass.
Right.
And it's hard to ship art. People don't think about it, but I mean, my nightmare is broken glass.
Sure.
And it's happened.
Yeah.
I've had probably, 10 pieces.
Oh, you just have to put a fragile sticker on it and it's fine.
Yeah, especially during COVID. They drop kicked every box I sent out. Yeah. I actually sold a Leroy Neiman. It was a baseball. Litho, and I shipped it, and it made it all the way to the house, and the guy dropped it about 10 feet from the door, on the corner, and it smashed the glass.
I have the best Leroy Neiman story ever.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's the best Leroy.
Okay.
At least it's my. At least it's my best Leroy Neiman story ever. So Leroy Neiman is an artist known for his painting on the fly. Like, he would paint a Muhammad Ali boxing match. He would paint the Kentucky Derby as the Kentucky Derby is happening. Right.
He was definitely it wasn't the only thing he painted.
He actually had an entire curation of the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was
Horndogger.
I mean, he probably had a pretty great life.
Yeah.
I mean,
his art sold for a lot of money, and he was left and right. I remember as a kid his golf art on my parents' friends' walls.
Yeah. But the best Leroy Neiman story for me personally, I was in San Francisco, California, and I walked into an art gallery, and at the time I was going through a divorce, and that was hard enough, but I mean, I felt like I didn't have ever enough money going through the divorce and all that stuff. I had 4 daughters, so I'm not being a victim. I'm just saying.
You were broke. Just
right,
broke. I mean,
right. We'll just call it, just read the facts
4
out.
girls with vacuums in your wallet. Okay, I've seen that.
But I went into this, on the wharf, San Francisco, went into this art gallery. And it was a nice art gallery. Right away they meet you, and I'm just saying, I just like art. I just want to look around. I said I'm not going to buy anything. I said that within the first seconds I walked in there. They're like, oh, of course, sir. Just walk around, enjoy, and people would come up and try and help you, and I'm like, oh, I'm just looking, and so looked through the gallery for probably an hour and a half. It was a nice gallery, and walking out. He goes, I know you're not going to buy anything, but he goes, which one was your favorite? I'm like, that one. I like that one. Leroy Neiman, and
what was the subject better?
It was a bar scene inside the bar.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so
and that was your favorite?
It was. It actually was. It was my favorite one, and so. He takes it down, off, and he goes and puts it in this light.
Special lighting.
And he has to sit on a
dimmer thing. Yeah.
Sit on this sofa. And I'm
Here, smoke some opium.
And I'm like...
American Express.
But it was funny. I'm like, I don't have any money. You go, I'm going through a divorce. I'm like, even if I did have the money, I wouldn't buy this.
Yeah.
And then cut it in half. So he's like, oh, well, we can have a ghost buyer for you. I'm like, who needs art so bad that they have a ghost buyer, right? I'm like, finally, I mean, now it's 2 hours into this, and I'm like, I appreciate your time, but I said, I'm not walking out here with a painting, but I love that one. And he goes, do you really love that painting? And I said, that's my favorite painting in the whole place. He goes, you know what? That one's called Buena Vista. He goes, if you go a block there and take a right, you'll walk in the back door of that painting. And I walked out the door of the art studio or art gallery. I walked 1 block to the wharf, went in the back door, and I was literally in the painting. The same guy that was pouring Irish whiskeys in the painting was painting. He was the same guy that was in there. And it's a little bit abstract. Leroy Neiman isn't real detailed in his drawing because he does do them live.
Yeah, and he does abstract art.
It's not abstract. I wouldn't call it abstract.
Yeah,
you can definitely see what it is, but no detail.
What's the term?
Impressionism?
Yeah.
But it was so cool, and I looked, and I stepped into that same painting.
Oh, cool!
And it was like the best experience.
Was it a painting?
It was a lithograph.
Oh, lithograph. I'll bet you I can pick that one up for you.
Even then, it was. I think he was trying to go 15,000 on that time.
I can probably find it for $300.
A lithograph?
Oh yeah.
I
buy Leroy Neiman
with
those for $200 or $300 all the time.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
actually,
please.
I bought one of his big ones. It's called Harlem, and I sold it. And it was really big. I mean, it was like 5 feet long. I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll pop it up. And the hardest thing was getting a box.
Oh, sure.
And in Perrysburg, there's a box company.
Yeah.
And I went in and I go, I need a custom box. Because the first place was like $180 for a box.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not paying $180 for a box. And they made me a custom box, double bound and everything, for like $38.
That's good. They also have a knot and rope company in Perrysburg.
Knot rope?
Knot and rope. Oh, and it was like, and the only reason I know that is my girls used to have horses.
Yeah.
And
that's an inexpensive hobby.
Especially when you have 4 daughters.
You didn't get 4 horses, did you?
I got 3.
Really? My grandfather's attitude, and in Perrysburg, he did it with my mom, was if you gave your daughter a horse, then she couldn't get into much trouble.
Right.
So he gave her 2 horses. 2 Palominos.
Oh, those are beautiful horses. It's crazy for anybody that's local watching this, where Costco Perrysburg is right now. Used to be a horse farm.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell. All you'd see was brush and like a barn sticking out.
Yeah, but it was actually in town. Like when I first moved to Perrysburg, they were already developing the suburbs beyond Boundary Street.
Yeah.
You know, so this horse farm was in city limits, but it was grandfathered in. So 7.5 acres or something like that, or maybe it was even more than that.
It seems like it's more than that.
It might have been 20 acres, but it was in
what
town.
does the Costco cover?
True,
Yeah.
you know, but Costco had ever since. I mean, in the barns were a little bit dumpy, you know, and but Sharon Kale, she still owns. She owns a nice horse training place and horse farm out in Lucky. Her and her sister used to be her parents' farm, and they raised horses, trained horses, 4-H, big 4-H, you know, big part of the community. And they eventually sold it to Costco for $7.5 million, which now, if you had that property, I mean, Costco got a good deal on that. I mean, that's a $20 million property.
They also got it. They bought it when prices were just coming back.
Right.
So they had good timing.
They did.
When I came into this house, take care of my mom, I think this house was like $120,000 because it had just gotten wiped out, you know, with the recession of, you know, from 2008 on.
Yeah.
And when I got here, things were still depressed.
Right.
2 or 3 years later, they started picking up, and it's still pretty crazy around here. I mean, I really expected maybe a nosedive because prices went up so fast and so much was selling. But you said the neighbor just a couple of days ago
Sunday
put up their house for sale, and then first person came along and bought it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
for asking
price. Yeah. We'll just say that. I mean, I don't have to say. People are going to think it's unrealistic, but
actually, the prices here are so cheap to me because I know California prices, right?
Sure.
So
no, exactly.
Even what goes for $1 million here in California would be $20 million. You know,
and that's so I'm grateful to live where I live, but the neighbor's house sold for $1.1 million. First showing. They said, we'll take it for that price.
And 10 years ago, that was a $300,000 house.
I'm sure it was, right? Because $300,000 is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where really...
chunk.
I don't know really where people just like, oh, that seems pretty nice.
Well, I keep telling my daughter, and it's changed now, but I would drop her off at these really big, huge, big mansions, right? And she's like, why don't we have a house like that, Dad? And I said, well, they don't have a house like that. The bank has a house like that. And I'm like, it's 2 people.
Yeah, a lot of
we don't need 6,000 square feet for 2 people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I lived in Miami Beach, Florida, and I kind of got priced out of there. I mean, I was... moved down there just before COVID, and at the time it was actually reasonable, but as soon as COVID hit, people could go remote, and they would move down to Miami Beach from New York. And
why not?
Right? I mean, and
now have the prices tanked because Florida's not doing very well right now, is it?
So I moved out of there a couple years ago. You know, almost, I guess April will be 2 years. So almost 2 years ago I moved out. And when I left there 2 years ago, the cheapest place around me was about $1.7 million. I was on South Beach. You know what I mean? It was.
And that's a pauper house.
I had a nice place, but I was renting.
People are like, if you had a $1.7 million house in Miami,
No,
they're
it
making
was
fun
nice.
of you.
It was nice. It was nice. But it was like small.
All right.
You know what I mean? It was. Mine was. I think it was 1,500 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot condo that I was renting, not buying. But when they priced me out, they wanted $5,500 a month, and I'm like, plus parking, plus you know what I mean. It's like so you
got to make at least 10 to afford that, and you're still not saving or having much of a life,
and it's still rent. So it's like so. Let's say I go to work every day and I'm balling and I'm paying and I'm affording rent plus have money. Well, what happens when I don't want to work that hard? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that's not
move to Arkansas,
right.
Get a shack on the river.
But because it's rent, I don't have any equity, so I have to. What do I do in
Arkansas?
Arkansas?
I like to rent, and I probably have told you that. The reason I like to rent is because I can leave, and I'm not stuck in a housing crisis or whatever. And also, sometimes I can rent way more than I could buy.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I've lived in some really incredible houses.
Yeah.
I could have never bought them, but I could rent them.
Yeah.
I can't buy them now because they're way too expensive, right? You know, the price. In Vegas, when I got to Las Vegas, which was in the late 80s, early 90s, you could rent a 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood for $800.
Wow.
That same house, no.
Right.
And I had friends in California and who grew up in their tract homes.
Right.
I have a friend, he actually moved to Vegas, and his mother just died, I think just the house, $1.6 million. They probably paid $35,000 for that house.
Right.
In the 70s.
Right. It's crazy.
It is. Housing is a weird thing, and I think it's more psychological in America than any place else.
I agree with that.
I think you can buy a nice home. But you can buy a nice home in Japan for $7,000.
Oh yeah, small, but they're.
But you know what? It's nice.
Yeah.
Right. You're in a nice neighborhood, nice people,
right.
Nice looking.
Right.
And you can fix it up, do whatever you want with it, but $7,000 is pretty cheap, I think.
I think I'm gonna fact check you on that. $7,000.
I watched a documentary of this guy. He's been on YouTube.
Yeah.
And every couple months he does a video on how he's remodeled it, and he paid $7,000. I swear to you. And it was I don't know Japan at all, so I wouldn't know where you would want to live or not, right? I know Tokyo is insane.
Right.
I remember years ago, like when I was a kid, Time magazine said a square foot in Tokyo was like $22,000.
Oh, yeah.
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 Tokyo is, I'm sure, very expensive.
I've never been to Tokyo, but I've been to Singapore, which is, in the region. In Singapore is also very expensive.
I would love to go to Tokyo.
I would love to go to Tokyo too. I would even love even more to go to like Nagoya. In the regions, I think Nagoya was their original capital, right?
No idea.
I mean, there's some beautiful, beautiful areas of Japan with that architecture and stuff. That would be
well, it's
amazing.
such an interesting culture, and we've had a lot of interesting situations with the Japanese. My grandfather. He ended up doing a lot of business in Japan after World War II. And he absolutely loved the Japanese. And they loved him. And my grandfather was like tall, like me, and about the same size. So he's a 6 foot guy hanging out with a bunch of 5-footers or less, So he towered over them, and he'd go visit them in Japan, and they'd come over here and visit him
That's cool.
in the United States. Yeah, I was really surprised because, after World War II, there were a lot of pissed off people about what went on, but it seemed like they held more of a grudge against the Germans than the Japanese. And the Japanese were pretty brutal people. I mean, look what they did in Hawaii to get things rolling.
That wasn't always... I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily the people's choice. Interesting thing about Pearl Harbor and the kamikaze pilots. So, what a horrible mission being a kamikaze pilot is. But
yeah, you were a missile.
But what some people don't know is a kamikaze pilot were only given enough fuel to go
one way.
And the squadron leader, which I don't know if the squadron leader had enough fuel to go both ways, but the squadron leader flew in the back. So if you left,
he'd kill you.
He would kill you. So you had a job, and you drew the short straw, and you had enough fuel to go fly your airplane into warfare.
And it was their biggest misstep.
Yeah, it was.
Historically speaking, the dumbest thing Japan did was attack Pearl Harbor. Although I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read that they sort of let it happen, which is horrible to think that our government would.
I think it was ignorance. So
they'd never do it, kind of thing.
Or they didn't. Yeah, they're like they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't.
You're
dare.
right.
So because they had the intel that said it was happening, and then they're like, no, that they wouldn't do that.
They're not that dumb.
But New Orleans has.
New Orleans. You're not pronouncing it right.
New Orleans has an amazing World War II, multi-building, huge museum that is incredible. So incredible.
Never even heard of that.
It's.
What's it called? Do you know?
I think it's called the World War II Museum. Right?
We'll
pop it up. But I've been there once, and it was actually over Memorial Day, and they had part of it closed down. So I'm going to go back. But I got to spend a couple hours there, which wasn't enough. They have, it's incredible. Put it on here. I'll put a link. You can Google it, and you should attend because it's worth every penny, and you'll probably come out of there with either some somberness or maybe a tear.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible.
It was probably the last, hopefully the last, but war that, it was called a world war because so many countries were involved and so many countries were affected by it.
Right.
And, so many ideas came out of that war that it'll never happen again.
I hope.
But it sort of has in some ways. And
I don't know if we're going to go soldier feet on the ground. I don't know what... I mean, they can do so much more damage now with shutting down bank accounts and blocking electricity. You know what I mean? It's,
I think one of the biggest outcomes of World War II was what happened to the Jews. And I got to be honest, last year, the anti-Semitism that was promoted in this country on the campuses especially was disgusting.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It was, and I don't get it. I have never understood it.
I think it's ignorance, in my opinion. I mean, how can you hate somebody that you don't even understand? I mean, you hate somebody because you're told to hate them? I mean, it's like, why hate? I
think in some cultures that are flailing, They need someone to blame.
That victim mentality.
And the Jewish people have always been hard workers, and they're smart, and they go into industries that are very profitable.
They run Hollywood.
Yeah. And the diamond market in New York.
Yeah.
You know, they tend to be bankers and doctors, but that's a cultural thing. It's not a DNA thing.
Exactly.
You can't look at their DNA and go, oh, you got the banker diamond gene, you know? That isn't the case. It's what your mom, you know, you're going to be in that business or I'm going to rip your ear off.
Yeah, you're going to sit here and study, right?
And that is the difference, in my opinion. And
I agree.
All the things that we see the fighting about or the blame, it's culture.
Yeah.
You know, you can take anybody from any neighborhood in the entire world, pick that person up as a kid and stick them in the best, productive, affluent, well-rounded culture, and that person will come out like that. But if you put them in the crappiest scenario, they're going to come out like that.
You're exactly right. And the reason why I know you're right is because there's a documentary, and it's so messed up, but it's true. It's a documentary, and I'll try and find it so I can pop it up.
Okay.
But triplets, right? A mom was giving up her children for
all three,
because she was like a teen mom.
Wow.
And this was probably in the 50s, right? 50s, 60s, something like that, maybe 70s. But she triplets, and they told her that her children died. And then
you mean they took the children?
Yeah.
And told her they died?
And then it was ran by the U.S. government, and they distinctly put there's triplets, identical triplets, one in affluent, one middle class, one distinctly poor. And they followed up with these children for their entire life, and randomly they got mistaken identity in college. Like, somebody left college and some other child like chose that college,
and everybody was
they're like,
yeah,
they're like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about. And they're like, fuck you, quit fucking with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if I showed up here,
right.
Your twin brother that I'd never met is like, and had never met you.
Right. They didn't even know they had a triplet out there.
And
two of them.
It's a really good documentary. I got to find it.
Yeah, let's find that. I want to watch it now.
Because when you say you put it, they kind of made that delineation that it's like, nurture versus nature. It's more nurture. It's more work.
Well, and opportunity, right?
Well, which is
because if you are poor or destitute, in my view, in my experience, you probably aren't thinking success.
Right.
You've been taught failure. Now, if you have parents, which I was lucky enough to have, and grandparents and everybody around me, was, no, you can be anything you want. Yeah. And I totally believed it.
Right.
So if you have that belief, you try harder, in my opinion.
Right.
You know, you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Or at least you don't put the blocks in front of yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
you know
that's definitely an American thing.
Yeah. It's like if you were
that
told
it really is the basis of racism in this country, right? Yeah. When you're telling someone because of the color of their skin they can't be successful, you're that narrow-minded, and we can see historically that is not true, because color of skin versus outcome We have so many people that have done so well in life, and they just don't care about the color of the skin. They're not allowing it to hold them back.
There's so little of education. We try and talk about inclusive diversity, but when you the
Buzzwords.
education of it, right? But do you remember? And you might, we're a similar generation. Blue eyes, brown eyes. The experiment.
Yes, that they told all the kids that the ones who had blue eyes were superior.
Yeah.
And they started being jerks to all the
Yeah.
brown-eyed kids.
Right.
And they went, "Oh, we made a mistake. It's actually the brown-eyed."
Yeah.
And they started reversing it. And yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example of how people think versus what's true.
And that teacher ended up getting fired and like her education certificate removed, because we're talking forward thinking. We're talking
One of the
probably
best
somebody
experiments ever,
right? One of the best experiments ever. And why doesn't our daughters know about it? I mean, they're not taught. If I asked any of our daughters, including my daughter that's a school teacher, about the blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment, she'd be like,
"What are you talking about?"
Right.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because it's such a eye-opening experience or mind-opening experience of how we treat people when we think that
I was brought up by a conservative dad and a sort of liberal mom, but not the liberal mom we have today. Mom would
not
detest
Mom
that.
Karen. No,
Yeah.
not Karen. Karen.
Yeah, she would she detested the modern day liberal or leftist, right? And my dad, he grew up in New Zealand in the 40s, 30s and 40s. And a lot of people don't know this, but at that time, that was the most communist place on earth.
Oh, really?
It was very communist, and he just hated it. He saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
You know? And so now we've gone from him, moving from New Zealand. He ended up in America just by chance, visiting his brother in San Francisco. And he was sort of surprised by the racism when he got here in the 60s.
Yeah.
And there was,
plenty.
There was plenty. And the difference between the 60s and now is there's just no, you can't compare them.
Right.
And now we've gone, I think, overboard. We've gone too far, which is the goal I thought was you don't care. And what Martin Luther King always said was judge a man by his character, not the color of his skin. And now we're all about color of skin and not character. And I think that's a massive mistake.
I agree. And I've tried to talk to my children, talking as a Gen X, and trying to influence them. And they're like,
"You're not Gen X, sorry to tell you, but are you?"
I'm not a boomer.
Are you Gen X? I guess you are, yeah.
I'm not a millennial.
No, I was joking, but yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah, I'm X, yeah.
But I'm not a boomer either. I'm like,
I'm not even on the cusp. No, I'm not. I'm solid X.
Okay.
So, but when I try and talk to my daughters about like deep, when I try and go deep, they're like, "You're racist." I'm like, "I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite of racist."
I know, that's what infuriates me, because they're misunderstanding my view, which I don't care. And in my view, that's beautiful.
Right. But it's like if you could see what I see, it's the opposite of racist. Your view, thinking that you need to take somebody of a certain color and give them benefits of something that because they're not capable. It's like that seems pretty racist.
She has a gay friend. You probably met him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she said to me one night, "Well, I thought you didn't like gay people." And I'm like, You went to my high school reunion, Ocean. You met one of my best friends in high school. He's gay. So how does that make sense, what you just said?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I didn't think of it that way.
It's a little bit culturalish, I guess, right? I mean, it's like the culture that we're allowing.
Well, we can't compete.
Yeah,
they're all about apps, and
their attention span is less than a goldfish.
It is.
6 seconds.
It's so unfortunate, isn't it?
It is.
It is so unfortunate that they don't take the time to think things through, and that's probably their biggest Achilles heel.
Right. I have a challenge. For all of our viewers. Put all social media and cell phones away for 12 hours. You can even sleep during 8 of it, but turn it off, put it away, and not be available. People, you might have police come to your door because people are like,
you're dead.
Yeah, oh, I think she's dead.
I bet Ocean $1,000 that she couldn't use any electronics for a week. She did it. She every night she came out, you want to play chess? She would talk to me. It was like, who's this kid, right? And I gave her the $1,000, but I put it in the bank for her. And because she was always asking me for money anyway, right? So what I did is every time she asked for money, I said, well, you got $1,000. She's like, well, I don't really need that. It saved me so much money making that bet. And she doesn't remember it because, I don't know why, but the kids just are so...
It's...
I'm sure you're in the same boat.
It's fine until it's not.
Well, in reflection to what has happened in your family, would you say that damn thing has created drama that would not exist otherwise?
No, I don't. It's not an evil device. I love it. I think they benefit from it. I think artificial intelligence is the way of the future, and I think it's a necessity. There's nothing I deem evil or bad about technology. What I wish is that my own children would put it down and look outside and observe and be present.
We had a neighbor kid who used to hang out here all the time, and he wasn't allowed to have a cell phone.
Yeah.
But he could hear my phone go beep. Especially I had a BlackBerry, right?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, aren't you going to check your messages? I'm like, dude, you don't even have a cell phone. Why would you say that to me? And he was just so used to everybody else around him.
Right.
They would check it. Right. And I'm like, I don't need to check it.
Right.
The only person I'm worried about is in the other room. And she knows where I am, so she can always come out and talk to me, right? There is no emergency on a text message for me.
Right.
You know, so let it go.
Right.
He has a cell phone now.
Right.
He can read his messages.
Right. So, well,
this was a great night. It was a lot of fun.
This was a really nice night. Yeah, this was really, and a nice bottle of wine.
True.
Freak show. Oh, here you go. I got you a present.
You got me a present? Oh. Is that from this?
Yeah.
I like the cork. It also has a lot going on.
Right?
I don't even have my glasses on and I can tell it's busy. Busier than most corks. It's its own piece of art. Well, I think we gave you guys some great tips.
I'll put my glasses on. I think we did.
We'll we got a movie you should watch or a documentary.
Yeah, that's going to be mind blowing as far as what
I'll bet you we can find the study on the brown eyes and
yeah,
brown
we'll top that.
I'm sure there's a documentary on
pop that one
YouTube
too.
on there.
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for watching.